Lord, Cracker Barrel, y'all. They done lost their ever-loving minds. The CEO, y'all, the CEO of Cracker Barrel just took a sledgehammer to one of the most nostalgic brands in America, all in the name of modernization. I get it. Some folks will say, well, now the brand kind of matches the bland food. But guess what? Their customers, the customers over at Cracker Barrel, they liked the brand and they even liked that bland food. But now they've nuked the old little white guy off their logo and they just replaced it with something that just looks like a hot mess. And believe it or not, I wasn't the biggest fan of Cracker Barrel's food, but I actually liked the guy on the logo. I mean, y'all, he was leaning on that barrel like he had a story to tell and a biscuit to share. But now he's just gone. Because apparently, even when something works, the left must find a way to break it. So we've got to talk about it, y'all. Let's get into this. Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I am your host, April Chapman, and today I'm actually righteously indignant because Cracker Barrel has officially mutilated its own brand. And listen, I'm Black, right? And I am conservative. And believe it or not, when my in-laws come to town or when we are on a road trip, guess where we eat? We go to the Cracker Barrel. Why? Because the Cracker Barrel, it's supposed to feel like you just walked into somebody's Meemaw's country kitchen, right? Like you're not supposed to walk in and it's supposed to feel like some sterile, Instagram cafe designed by a DEI committee. No, it's not supposed to look like that. Y'all, look at this mess. Like, I am triggered at what they've done to the Cracker Barrel. Look at it. Y'all see this mess? Look how ugly this is. Ugly. What is this? This is horrible. Y'all, to me, this is the death of nostalgia. Y'all, they erased the iconic logo of the old white farmer who just, he's just leaning on the barrel and then they replaced it with just a yellow block. Now, supposedly this block is supposed to look like a sideways barrel, but honestly, I don't know what this is. It just looks like some sort of off-brand pancake logo or something. Like, it's kind of like a woke art school intern just, sat around and they're all clapping like seals when they saw it, thinking they did something. But the rest of us are sitting here looking at this generic garbage and saying that we don't want this. Now, here's the excuse. They decided to do this rebrand and they said that, the colors, right? The colors were inspired by scrambled eggs and buttermilk biscuits. I'm like, that's the story that y'all told yourselves to convince you that this rebrand made sense. That's not even cute. I mean, maybe to some Gen Zer, I don't know, who doesn't understand the nostalgia and the history of a Cracker Barrel, but nobody walks into Cracker Barrel for design inspiration. We go there, we want to see the rocking chairs. We want mason jars. We want to see chicken and dumplings that taste like somebody's great auntie spent all day in the kitchen, and we want to see all the old stuff hanging around. I want to hear the crickety crack of the wooden floor. I want a rickety old country store chair. Like, I want that. I want to see the servers looking like Molly Maids. That's what I want to see. But the fallout of this rebrand, the market they didn't buy it. Okay, literally, Cracker Barrels, their stock plunged a little bit. It dropped, I want to say, as much as 15% in a single day, and it wiped out about $100 million in market value. Now, Wall Street, they're not sentimental, but even investors know you don't torch 5 decades of brand recognition for a logo that looks like a knockoff app icon. Like, this was not an upgrade. This was literally brand suicide. I'm trying to figure out what was this female CEO thinking. This just further proves that liberals do not care. Liberals do not care what you want. They don't care what their customers want, how their customers feel. This is the same nonsense that we saw with Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima, the liberals try to erase tradition and rewrite history, and then they do so while patting themselves on the back for being so progressive. But nobody asked for this, right? Like, did Cracker Barrel survey the families who stopped by Cracker Barrel on Sundays after church? No, they did not. Did they call my mother-in-law, right? Who she just want to go to the gift shop and see the nostalgia and get a plate of hash brown casserole. Nobody told y'all to mess with any of this. But because liberals, they never actually care about their customers. They just care about control. So what I find interesting here is that more and more as time progresses, these liberal corporate executives are always trying to bulldoze the landmarks that connect us to tradition or history and memory. They just want to bulldoze through all that. Now, nobody asked me, okay? They did not ask me. But here is what I think Cracker Barrel should have done instead, right? I could have helped them out here because clearly they don't understand their own customer base. I feel like I understand their customer base more than they do. Instead of erasing the logo that people loved, how about doubling down on, I don't know, being pro-America? Right? Like bring in the American flag at every location, roll out some sort of limited time Stars and Stripes sampler, I don't know, or a patriotic apple pie. Think on your feet, be creative. They could have sponsored a Veterans Breakfast Day. I don't know, put some energy into menu innovation instead of graphic design erasure. They could have thought about that. Cracker Barrel customers aren't begging for a sideways barrel logo, okay? They were asking, and all they're asking for is good food, a place where family memories can be made, and a place that celebrates what is still good about this country. That's what Cracker Barrel means to all of us, right? Like you could have made Cracker Barrel more American, but instead you made it less cracker, less barrel, just more boring, okay? Take a look at what this marketing executive is saying.
Joining us right now with more on what's turning into a major branding blunder is Americus Reed, Wharton School professor of marketing. Americus, let's walk through this and talk this through. I am not a huge fan of the new logo. I think it's boring. Don't know what I think about the stores as much. The white doesn't bother me quite as much. But it does look like they mishandled this pretty badly, and it got picked up by social media. And now what?
Yeah, I love that point. I mean, social media is outraged about this. I mean, you can take a look at the new logo and you can determine quickly that it's an attempt to simplify, which is a trend that's going on right now. In other words, a minimalization of what you're doing and a modernization to make things a little bit less cluttered. Now, of course, there are, let me just give you quickly sort of rebrand or logo change 101 marketing. You definitely want to tweak a little bit. That's point number one. Point number two is you want to make sure that along with the change, you have the story ready. In other words, you have the narrative prepared to tell consumers why you're doing this and what's behind the change. And so if you don't do that, then you can see what we're seeing now, which is a lot of people filling the silence with respect to their negative reactions to the logo. And then point number three is to make sure, and I'm not sure if they did this or not, but you make sure you do a little tiny test of things with your most loyal customers, and you just get a pressure test to see how they react. Because if it's this kind of vehement sort of vitriol anger, you could probably pick that up in a smaller test and you can figure it out way before this spirals out of control in the way that it has.
I will say I was looking this morning on Twitter, and some of the competition is trying to jump on board. We've got a full screen I called up from Steak and Shake, kind of trashing what they were doing. I've seen a couple more they posted since, but sometimes people want to change things just to put their own personality on things. Cracker Barrel, their goal is just to delete the personality altogether. Blah, blah, blah. They say at Steak and Shake, we take pride in our history, our families, and American values. All are welcome, and we will never market ourselves away from our past in a cheap effort to gain the approval of trend seekers. I can't remember the last time I've been in a Steak and Shake. Is this just a desperate attempt from other brands to say, hey, pay attention to us over here?
100%. I mean, Steak and Shake, that was a bit of a low blow, but okay, that's fine. They want to jump in on this moment, and I think you're 100% correct, because it's an opportunity for them to elevate what it is that they're doing on the backs of kind of the misfortune of Cracker Barrel. So, again, I think that what's important to remember here is that, especially with respect to the stock price change, is that everybody needs to just relax, calm down a little bit. Social media outrage is out there. And of course, because consumers have these things called cell phones, they can now be a part of the conversation and get you to panic. So I would say to Cracker Barrel, hey, just, be steady and go back out there and redefine and create the important moment to
why not pull
explain.
a new Coke, get rid of it? Sorry, we didn't mean to offend you all. We wanted to make sure that we were welcoming and doing things that would make everybody feel like they wanted to come into a renewed place. But we get it. We hear you. We are keeping the old logo, and we are still ourselves. I mean, I think this might call more for a new Coke moment than hey, just listen to our story.
Yeah, I mean, the new Coke that's a great historical example. I think this is a little bit different, though, because in some senses, Cracker Barrel is very much, like you said, associated with kind of more conservative values. It certainly tends to appear geographically in more red state districts compared to blue state districts and things like that. But I think here's the problem with what you're suggesting. If you backtrack, then you're signaling to consumers two things. One is that you don't really know what you're doing as a marketer, and number two, you're willing to sort of fly by the wind. Yeah. And so I think
you already proved that. Fess up. We're really sorry. We didn't mean to alienate everybody. We didn't want this to be a touchstone of driving you away. We're just trying to change a little with the times, but we still recognize our heritage and our roots. And we hear you. Just the logo would be an easy one. I get you're not going to undo the remodels you've done, but we hear you. And the old gentleman, the logo is important to us too. We're keeping Grandpa around.
Yeah, and if worse comes to worse and our conservative right-wing friends are super upset, I mean, at the end of the day, you could just tell them that the old gentleman was Biden, and we stuffed him in the barrel and threw him down the river, and maybe that'll be okay for the change there. I don't know, but
they're trying to downplay and say, well, this may be just the outrage that we're seeing on social media, but I can guarantee you, I know the Cracker Barrel customer, and this is not just going to blow over and y'all are going to sell this ugly decor and this ugly logo to these people. Because listen, I'm Black, and I'll say it really loud. I loved the old Cracker Barrel vibe. Okay, the dirt floors, the farmhouse field, the front porch rocking chairs, all of that was magic. And you can't just import some sort of new mystique and a new logo and then take all of that away and try to give it a refresh. You can't do that. And if you're offended by the word cracker in the name, listen, just stay home. This ain't the place for you, okay? Don't ruin it for the rest of us. There are plenty of Black folks who be like, we loves the Cracker Barrel, and we don't care who don't like it, okay? But these woke executives, y'all, they are obsessed with scrubbing anything that reminds us of old America. When I say old America, I ain't talking about slavery America. I'm just talking about the nostalgia of America when life was more simple, right? When you didn't have to have all of your plates matching and a mason job was just good enough for company because it was clean and it was all you had, right? Like the things that they're doing in the name of progress. I call it the erasure of culture and heritage. And yes, nostalgia that actually brought people together, right? Like nobody ever went to a Cracker Barrel to argue about politics. Okay, it just doesn't happen. We went to eat the biscuits and the hash brown casserole and the shop for old-timey candy. That's what me and my children and my family, what we would go do. So here's the bottom line. Cracker Barrel didn't just change a logo. To me, this is deeper. They spit on their own legacy. And if you think scrambled egg, yellow, DEI jargon is going to keep the doors open, you deserve the stock crash that followed. You deserve it because you're not talking to the people who are buying the food and who sit in those restaurants, who go there for the experience. We go to Cracker Barrel for the experience, and now they've messed that experience up. And so as for me, I'll take my cornbread and my rocking chair at an actual diner that remembers or helps remind me of life when America was simple and what America used to be. But this new logo, I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. I appreciate y'all listening to my rant. I do want you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I didn't want to politicize this, but how else do you explain this CEO doing a refresh so drastic that it completely looks nothing like its former self? But I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? Do you think that the Cracker Barrel mystique needed a refresh, or you're just like, I don't know what this is, but it's ugly, we don't like it, and bring back what we had before? But whatever it is that you guys think, I want you to leave me a comment down in the description, in the comments box. But I don't know, why do I always say the description box? The description box is separate from the comment section. Anyway, listen, I need you to remember, y'all, don't let the woke mob rob you of tradition, because once it's gone, it is gone. And so until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.